All right, greetings and welcome to the Conflict Radio After Show. Jared, we just had an interview with Marshall Masters on Planet X, and we just got off the phone with him. I wanted to get you and your first thoughts immediately following that interview. What do you think?
This is Michael baiting the hook. Um, it's super fascinating, and I agree with anyone who's willing to go out and do research on anything. It's a very true statement. Look at the science. It's not an emotional thing. It's just look at the science. Look at what we found. So we are going to continue to explore, and that's very difficult with esoteric research when it has to do with genetic memory, when it has to do with the mechanics and the science behind why do we remember past lives, other people have superhuman abilities that we're reactivating. Those are all things that are very interesting. So as far as the show goes, super fascinating guy.
It seemed
And
like you really pissed him off.
well, so this is for everyone out there. I say a few things and I say it privately, and I'm going to share something with people that I haven't done before, and also about being a self-experimenter. One of the things you always need to look for about believing anybody on anything, you don't need to. The science. One of the things I said early on in all my interviews was everyone has to be ready to be wrong. Everyone has to be ready to start with the theories that they know and the information they have. I've talked extensively about Sitchin Zachariah's work. Most of it, quite a bit of it, is a fraud. And again, it's because although Sitchin published work about the Anunnaki and Nibiru, the work that was published was based on cuneiform tablets that were never produced. And cuneiform tablets are not a mystery. There's not a Vatican of cuneiform tablets, okay? So anything that Zachariah used to come up with his theories should be able to be produced. And there's huge, massive databases. So why is that important to Nibiru? Because, of course, Zachariah's work is a generation where you could go verify something yourself on the internet. Or to Marshall's and yours and my points many times, lots of data is manipulated. However, when I tell you not to believe people or to look at the science, you should have a red flag going off if someone gets really defensive. And if someone starts getting, when they tell you it, literally, am I wrong? I heard believe the science, but if you don't believe me now, you're an idiot. You might be a smart idiot, but you're an idiot. Did I hear that correctly?
Well, I think that he just gets frustrated because he's been preaching about this for, God, it's got to be 15 years that I've heard him on Coast to Coast various times talking about Planet X, and it's to the point now where he's just tired of trying to convince people that it's there. He's more worried about trying to prepare them for it and what people need to do to prepare for its arrival. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I remember when we were supposed to prepare for 2000. I remember when we were supposed to prepare for the 52 times that the Mayan calendar was going to blow us up the last 100 years. I don't need to believe anyone. If you can see something with the naked eye, somebody can take a goddamn photo of it.
Well, there are photos of it. People have been taking photos of it.
Right, but why be offended at the question of, well, I'm assuming you photographed it, and it's like that's not possible.
Hey, I'm not saying anything, man. That was radio gold. I did not expect you guys to get into it like that. I just sat back and was like, with a big smile on my face, like, oh yeah.
Yeah, so this is my pushback to you. It's like, again, to everyone listening, okay, you have a lot of ancillary data about why you believe that this planet is there. There's literally mainstream astrophysicists that have proved this out, that it appears that there is another planet, that we are likely in a binary system. However, if you've seen it twice with the naked eye, and you're putting yourself on the record of saying that, then why is it a leap of faith for me to ask if you photographed it? And the very next thing out of your mouth is how much time you've spent preaching about it. You're sick of convincing smart, stupid people. You don't need to convince anyone. You just have to photograph the thing. Why is that the religion? Why is you say you can spot it with the naked eye, so therefore there must be places you can photograph it and do it with measurements and then request time in. And here's the deal. Anthony Holland is someone I quote to everyone who has killed cancer and bacteria and viruses with sound, with Royal Rife's work. There are people out there that say Royal Rife was a fraud. There is a TED Talk that you can go view, Anthony Holland's work on video, of him showing video at a TED Talk of him destroying cancer cells and leukemia and MRSA with sound. That you can watch that work, and he has a private company that's invested in that. You can talk to Anthony Holland, which is one of my later requests for this show and my show. And then there's Dr. Gerald Pollack doing work on the fourth state of water, easy water. There's literally more than one state of water. Well, it's being proved out. So we have mainstream astrophysicists proving out the existence of Nibiru, or another entity within our solar system. This is not a huge mystery. So an easy thing to say, if I were Marshall and I've been at this for 15 years and I'm saying everything I'm saying that I would say if he wants to come back on the show, the question is, name the astrophysicists that you have tried to work with to get it photographed and documented, because to the best of my knowledge, no one's stopping anyone from doing it. Now, you can scream the sky is falling with conspiracy, but getting angry with me for asking a very commonsensical question, my red flags go off and I cry BS.
All right, so let me ask you a question, Jared.
How's that for your radio gold?
Well, I'm just curious now, because he said that Nibiru, the star system Nemesis and everything, was coming from the other side of the sun. But in 6 months, won't we be on the same side of the sun it's coming from? I mean, it's not going to always be on the other side of the sun, right? I mean, how could a whole Nemesis star system, what is it, stay on the other side of the sun?
So it could be like the moon, where you only see one side of it. And one of the things that I got to ask you too is, he said he saw it twice. So if you can see it, it's on an evolution. He didn't say he saw it 2 days in a row. He's seen it multiple times. So apparently, also there are telescopes that have been theorized, and I don't know if they've come to fruition, using the sun as a convex lens to amplify radio signals. And I'm blanking right now on whether or not that actually came to fruition. And I understand. So for everyone out there, so you want to use a super $1 trillion, billion-dollar telescope to look at anything. Scientists have to schedule time. And that's after they submit a proposal. And there's only so many telescopes that we know of that are publicly available. So if you want to look at anything, you got to schedule it. And you just don't have unlimited access to high-tech telescopes. That's not a thing. So it isn't easy. However, there are multiple papers out there about, are we in a binary system or not? Is there another planet or isn't there? And by the way, everyone says planet. The reference is Nibiru because of the Sumerians. And it's a very light reference, and I offer that article on ancient origins as just a one reference point for you to look at and start going, okay, what do the cuneiform tablets say? Again, the majority of this stuff about Nibiru having a population, that it came to Earth, is literally not a thing. And the only way to prove it for anyone listening is to go ahead and snap the photos, screenshot, and send us the cuneiform tablets that Zecharia Sitchin used to write his books. Well, they're not. I haven't found them. I am seriously not saying that to be ironic. If you have them, if you have access to them, please contact Michael or I. That would be great. So then setting that it's anytime somebody says believe, just believe. No, just show me the science. You shouldn't be adversarial about the science. So name the astrophysicists you've tried to work with. Tell me what telescopes you've tried to approach. And if you've been laughed out, then report it. Say you've been laughed out. Write about it. Write about the people who won't give you access. I'll tell you right now, I'll be right. Anybody who doesn't give me access to where I want to go in the Grand Canyon, I will be writing and broadcasting about every step of our process to go back to the Grand Canyon. I will write and talk about our archaeological work when we do more work in America's Stonehenge. And Jennifer Deo and I are going to be working in South America. I will be reporting on that process. So I don't understand. Again, it's always curious to me when I had no idea, just for everyone listening, who Marshall is as far as personally. I don't know him. Personally, I don't know anyone who knows him personally. So as far as him getting lit up about not being believed, I'm not looking to believe the Pharisee here. I'm looking to see the text myself. I don't need you to read them to me. Just show me the data and show me the planetary system. And I just can't believe that there's not one atheistic, non-Anunnaki believing Dutch, Egyptian, South American, Luciferian telescope watching, not one astronomer that hasn't wanted to back up other mainstream papers on the idea of a binary star system and or another planet. And I understand that there's been cover up, but you can't use the words cover up and no one will work with me if you can't name off anyone. That I'm just saying, it's just, I don't care. But this is when I say out to listeners, educate yourselves. Don't believe, be curious. Don't believe, be curious. And in this case, if you're curious, let's take the next steps. So things out there for everyone who's armchairing this. Let's find the astronomer that wants to look for a planet that's available at dawn and dusk, and apparently multiple times a year, and possibly every 6 months, but definitely multiple times a year, because apparently it's very easy for Marshall to spot Nibiru. So this should be no biggie. I don't know why he was so upset. Do you?
No, and I was curious because he did mention when they were spotting it, he didn't have time to get his camera. I mean, what was it, moving really fast? You know, I mean, if it's coming at us from the sun's side and you're seeing it, it's there. Where would it go? It's only going to get closer. It's not like it's weaving around, right? Like, I don't know.
Right. Well, it's not like, okay, so yeah, so therein lies the other issue. It's like, so I didn't realize he was going to take it personally or be upset, or I don't know what. I don't know what. So the issue is, okay, you've seen it multiple times. So under what circumstance have you seen it? And why become so adversarial about, it's not that I don't believe you've seen it. That's not the issue. I've said this to plenty of guests over time. X marks the spot. Where is it? Maybe not in those terms, but it's like, okay, you see it. Where on the horizon, when, and from where? Well, then give me a mystical answer. See, again, my bullshit meter starts getting ticked off when you say, well, you could see it under certain circumstances when you're in the air and when you're in an airplane. You could see it. I didn't. You know what I'm asking. I'm asking you, under what scientific circumstance that the fact that you can see it with your naked eye means that even a simple $3 to $12 or $15 or $18,000 telescope, which, mind you, although sounds expensive, is a hobbyist telescope, but you'd be able to see Venus. So why and how, if you can spot that with your naked eye, has no one in your decade and a half of research been available to you? Instead, you get super lit that people don't believe. Again, it's very suspicious to me as to, I understand if he's frustrated. I understand if he feels that there's a lot of data that proves a point and he wants to, there are a lot of doom preppers. I know he referenced people who build bunkers and doomsday preppers. And I like optimistically living beyond a disaster. You have to know how to do aeroponics, hydroponics, aquaponics. You need to know how to plant and work with soils. hence ancient engineered soils, terra preta. You have to be able to go into bunkers. You and I have talked about definite locations in the Rockies and all over the world. Turkey, I mean, is filled with underground tunnels that have clearly been there for tens of thousands of years, that have been used under God knows how many disasters. But again, what I want to come back to as an I thought, in conclusion, thanks for the soapbox.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I thought that I didn't know that asking such a elementary question of, oh, well, have you photographed Nibiru? Because the minute, I'm thinking you can see it by your eye, you've definitely photographed it with one of these, telescopes. So, hey, have you photographed it? And then he launches into the diatribe of why you need to believe. And even if you're really smart, you're an idiot or stupid, wherever he was going with that. Well, why would you go there and not just, oh, we've set up cameras, we've done this, we've attempted to do that? How come none of that came up? Do you know?
No, I don't have any idea.
I mean, it's quite exciting.
I was a little surprised he got so annoyed at the question, honestly.
Well, and that's for everyone out there listening. When you're listening to someone on particular networks, or someone who says they're part of a particular organization, you need to ask them to offer more than their statements. We still live in a day of snake oil. We still live in a day and age of just believe what I'm saying. And we need to live in an age of exploration again, and we need to live in an age of rediscovery where, as we rediscover, whether it's a superhuman ability like the Wim Hof, Stig Severinsen thing, or whether it's movement and pushing our bodies in ways that have never been done. I mean, just look at the Olympics now versus 80 years ago. If it's our mental ambitions with again, more like along the lines of Wim Hof, but the mental meditations that are controlling, like Qigong and other methodologies that have been coined. But again, our vibrational, the best description I've heard recently of organic matter is that it's frozen light. And here we are in an age where, yes, there is cover-ups. Yes, there is a very frustrating level of control of mysterious organizations. But the reality is, getting someone, I'm very curious. I can commit to everyone out there listening now. I am out there to explore this world. And if it's as simple as calling Mount Graham, Arizona, and finding out if they've looked at Nibiru or not, and it's on the horizon, it's on the event horizon at every celestial, every other day moment, and it's naked if it's viewable. I mean, let's dissect the work. I mean, Michael, I think we owe it to listeners, if we're gonna entertain this work, then let's prove it out. Let's find out. Let's put some names behind a telescope and say, hey, this telescope's already looked at that, or this telescope will look at this. Let's get it on the books. This is one of those things, and I have references for actual Sumerian databases. I have references on my member area so that people can do their own research. And part of it is there is this fog of our past, particularly post-Younger Dryas, that includes these mythologies that have been created, unfortunately, by Sitchin's work with zero backup. And so we can throw away all the Anunnaki stuff for just one, not because of or for, but in the point of there being possibly another planet. One of the things that's never brought up, because it's only brought up in the Sumerian texts, there's a possibility that there's more. If it's a binary star system and there's a whole nother star, why do we assume there's only Nibiru? Why aren't there more? Why aren't there 9 or 10 more bodies or planets that go around a secondary star?
No, it's Nemesis, and it has 3 planets evolving Nemesis. There's 3 planets revolving around Nemesis.
Right. I guess I'm just making the point that and ironically, Isaac Asimov writes a very awesome standalone novel called Nemesis, and it's about, anyway, you should check that out, because I don't want to ruin it, but it.
All right. Well, we are just I guess running out of time for this members video. I want to thank everybody who is a member. Jared, I got to ask you a question. I mean, it's obvious that there is we are in a binary star system, right? I mean, the math kind of proves it.
Well, the math. So here's the problem. The math. Yes. Okay. I'm going to put it into the 60%. It's definitely 95% beyond BS that there's something else very heavily weighed gravitonically in our solar system that we are not either general public aware of or otherwise. But what we're looking at is not having eyes on it. And again, radio frequency telescopes, it still sucks because radio frequency telescopes don't give you a snapshot with a picture that you can look at and go, oh, that's a planet. It's still radio frequency with an artistic interpretation. But we can start measuring these bodies, and we just need to do some work and find out who's been up and at it. And we just got to stay at it, I guess.
All right. So do you believe that do you believe that Nemesis is out there? I'm asking.
Well, like I said, I don't want to give it a name. I don't want to say that Nemesis sounds
another sun.
Yeah, it's just, is it possible that there's another sun? Absolutely. It's well within the girth of our
what do you
general
believe?
vicinity. Well, I put it in I do have a chapter on astronomy, and I include, I think that it does exist, that there's at least if you want to put it in quotes, Nibiru, it does exist, based on the gravitational evidence, not a pull just on the planet, but the pull on the solar system appears to prove out maybe a rogue planet at a minimum, in a larger orbit that is either loosey-goosey around our sun, or it's part of a binary star system and somehow cycles in a 36-ish to 15,000 year cycle. And ironically, in the last year and a half since editing and publishing, I haven't really seen any changes on that data. So you tell me what you think as far as whether or not, do you need to worry about 2028, or do you think a Mayan rain dancer is going to take care of you?
Well, I personally believe that Nemesis is out there somewhere, and it is being evolved by a couple other planets. Whether or not it gets here in 2028, well, I guess we'll find out. I'm not in a mad scramble to dig a hole, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it was super fascinating and fun, and I certainly want to look at Marshall's new work and research, but then, like I said, I'm looking forward to. I have, and anyone out there listening, folks, please help us along. Here's something to do. Let's start let's start looking into the actual astronomy and the astrophysicists. Anyone that 6 degrees of separation. This is out there for all of us to citizen science.
Yeah. And you have to admit, a lot of this stuff is covered up and not told to the public.
100%. But somebody always talks to somebody, and somebody's always retiring, and somebody always has a big I don't care factor that eventually ends up, we end up with details that we weren't supposed to know. Like, we never should have gone to Vietnam. Like, there's like,
well, I'm not saying we shouldn't have gone to Vietnam, but maybe we should have actually tried to win it instead of.
Yeah, and had the Post not published what they did, and I'm surprised Hollywood even did a movie on it, and I'm shocked at the number of things that do get disclosed. I don't know if it's the ever dwindling intelligence level of the overall human race, or if it's I don't think it's planned or intentional, but definitely. All
right. Well, I guess let's just wrap it up, Jared. We're out of time. That's going to do it for us. Make sure thank you everyone for subscribing and listening to this. It's awesome that you guys support Conflict Radio in this way, and it's pretty awesome, and we definitely appreciate it. You can, Jared, tell everybody real quick where you're at again, and let's wrap it up.
Yeah, notaliens.com. You can find my book on Amazon too, and you can find my member area, and you'll find me at America's Stonehenge May 1st for a lecture, and then a walk through America's Stonehenge in New Hampshire on May 1st.
Oh, that sounds pretty awesome. And that's going to wrap it up for us. This is our second members video, and thanks again for subscribing. Hope you stick around, and we'll catch you on the flip side. And, batten down the hatches. Be safe. We'll see you around.